Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I want to welcome you to today's Selectmen's meeting. We have a few things on the agenda. The first is an open session regarding goals and objectives. This meeting is being recorded. I want to thank SCTV for being here. After our open session, we're going to go into the executive session, and we're going to discuss our town manager, Mr. Crabtree's non-union contract. We're going to come back into open session. If we take any votes in executive session, we'll take those same votes in open session, and then we adjourn. With that said, Mr. Town Manager, would you like to lead us off, please?
Sure. Thank you. So this is good that, we get together and try to talk about some of the things, the priorities that we've set. Because a lot of the things that I think we've talked about are long term. They don't happen in 6 months. They don't happen in a year. Some of the stuff is, 3 to 5 years. Some of it's, 2 years, 1 year. But I think it's good that we talk about some of that stuff and then maybe talk about some of the stuff that we've done. I think that as a town and as a group here, we've been pretty successful at getting a lot of things done. Some of the big major things I think that are more long term are, and as we've talked about, a public safety fire and EMS response system on the west side of Saugus. So just to kind of update it, we talked about this I think at a month and a half ago. But we've engaged a company to do feasibility on location, and we've located, I think, the chief and other public safety, fire chief, police chief, input from EMS, have identified an area within the town of Saugus up in the northwest area that would deal with response times that were identified as being deficient during the feasibility study. So we're looking at, and I think we talked about this, we're looking at, in the process now of trying to look at properties that we would either be able to use or acquire. Obviously that's going to take a little bit, but I think the plan with that would be to, let's say we have the budget coming up to present. I do with you guys, what is that, March? March 15th? Or is it March
No, you
1st?
have February 15th. You have to give us the book, and
Right.
we have to vote on it.
By March
March
1st, right. So I
By
think
March 1st.
my thought would be, I'll have some kind of a public forum, have the different, the consultants that we've hired. We have a bunch of different consultants working on this, and present something, I guess, to the public and everybody, so they keep everybody on board, because obviously I think we have to say this, because I think people just think like, oh, the vote thing is gonna get paid for, it's just gonna come out of thing. That stuff eats away at your budget. The fire station will need an operational override as well as a debt exclusion, and we're gonna need everybody to sort of support that, because it's gonna be controversial. I'm sure some people will have different feelings on it, but the board has said this is a priority, and they're willing to go out and support this, that they're gonna ask the taxpayers to support this and make an investment. And I think that's the right thing to do as far as letting the public decide the direction of the town. I think we did this with the school. But, just so everybody knows, there's a lot of time involved in this, and there's a lot of money involved, even if nothing happens with this, to do this right. So the idea would be, I think, to do something probably in March, to sort of get that out there, and to see where we are. But it's sort of the chicken or the egg, because one of the things we're trying to do is look at different properties, but we don't want to identify that, because then obviously the prices will change. And we're looking for, but they're pretty set on, the public safety and officials and are pretty set on the area they think, and the study shows, and the data that we have a whole report that's being completed, definitely identifies an area that would help. And I think people have to understand, we're not building a fire station, we're building an emergency response location. That's, if you're having a cardiac arrest issue, or you're having some kind of thing, or your family is, your parents, your grandparents, on a certain part of town, this is gonna increase your odds of survival and getting medical care. That's really what you have to, people have to understand. I think this is branded probably incorrectly years ago, and I think, we have to sort of make sure that people understand this is about getting emergency response times for people that are in need under, 6 minutes. It's not about firefighters, even though it's been put, their proposal, this is really about EMS, emergency response system, which includes, part of that is police and fire and ambulance. So I think people have to understand that, and I think this is a better thing for the town. It's a matter of, the investment of it. So I think that's, the report is, we're trying to make it so that when we present it, it doesn't identify, it takes out sort of the exact properties, so that we can present and people can, be along with the process, give input during the process, and be aware of where we're headed. Because again, even if nothing happens, or even if it gets, where it doesn't get supported, there's a ton of money we're investing now. We're already into this. With the money the town meeting's invested, we're gonna need more to do this, to continue now to put schematics and a concept together, so that people can see what they're actually investing in, and the amount of time with manpower that we're putting in for myself and everybody else. So I just, people should, understand, like, we have to make sure that we're on the same page, and then we're gonna move forward with this. And, the Vogue school, everybody's on page with it, but we're now gonna start feeling some serious budgetary issues with that without having some sort of debt exclusion. Just so, we understand, you can't just keep paying for things and not supporting that with a source of funding. So that's what we got.
Question on the fire station, is this the public safety building, is this gonna be a satellite station? Because I've heard that this is gonna be like the new main station.
Won't be the new main station, but
antiquated over there.
The idea from everybody that's involved in the project, which are chiefs, and is that, we're not gonna, put a metal building up. We're gonna have something so that it's will last. I mean, like you look at Essex Street, the Essex Street needs to be upgraded as well. So we're building a new one, but we gotta look at what's gonna last longevity-wise, and not have a...
That facility's in good shape, isn't it? The new...
It depends who you ask.
Yeah.
If you ask the fire department, they say it's not.
Really?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, those buildings, like a building like that, I think the useful life, or whatever the life expectancy is, like 25 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
opened in 2020.
But I mean, that means then you have to
2001.
start doing windows and roof
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
You don't knock the building down and
Right,
start over.
correct.
We did the doors, we did...
We've done
HVAC.
We've done a lot.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Essex, we've done some upgrades, but that's a building that's
Yeah.
back in the 60s, I think,
Yeah,
right?
that I would argue is a dinosaur.
So we have to sort of look at those horizon while we're doing, something else. But to me personally, I think this would be a benefit to the community for public safety, and I think we just need to get people, on board with it to make sure, because even you hear now, oh, let's do it. It's like the folks, like let's do
Yeah, until
this.
it comes time for the vote.
You got to figure out how to pay for it, and I think that you guys as elected officials have to help support that. I don't think one person's going to be able to get this passed. It's different. School, like, sort of is for the whole community. Everybody's going to benefit. Everybody will benefit. I think people have to realize, even if you're on the other side of town, and it's the same thing with, like, wind waste, right? People that live north of Saugus don't have any issue with wind waste. If you live down there, you worry about NOx and different things. It's the same sort of idea, but I think I just want people to realize a lot of man hours in this, and there's a lot of money that we've already allocated and is spending on consultants to put together a legitimacy and an actual, drawings and just like we did with the schools, so that people have something to look at. That's what, and this is what developers spend to go in front of a planning board or a zoning board of appeals. A lot of money involved putting that together to maybe get a long no or eventually a yes.
I think the school was an easier sell because it benefits the entire community.
Right.
And I think the part that's going to be difficult for us is we got to make sure everybody's rowing in the right direction for the messaging as to why doing a West Side fire station would still be, or emergency response station
Yeah.
would be best for the town as a whole, because it also helps not take too many resources out of other areas in town.
Correct.
If there's two issues at once, now you have a better shot of addressing both timely, because you have proper allocation of, and so.
And it's for backup,
Because
too.
a lot of,
Right.
but a lot of people write, you read some of the comments and people are like, well, it doesn't impact me, like, so why would I vote for that? I gotta worry about the vote, and I gotta worry about
Yeah.
this, and I'm not supporting more money for that.
Right.
So we have to make sure that we have kind of a unified approach in messaging like we did with the schools, but the schools, you're selling it town-wide. Everybody in the town.
Well, you'd have people say,
you know.
well, I don't have kids anymore, but people
Right.
have grandkids, and they
Yeah.
want their grandkids
You
to
have,
Yes.
see
you have a bigger voting base.
Yeah,
it. And I think of the way it is, this is a
Yeah.
public safety building that we're looking at, and it's probably would be multi-use, whether the police, but I think, like you said, if we have emergency apparatus that are on the other side of town, then that creates an issue on this side of town. So
That's
this
right.
is about a holistic approach
Yes.
of the entire
spreading out
geographic
our
area.
resources and having more resources available.
So, I
Mr.
mean,
Manager?
yeah, go ahead.
On the school
Yeah.
vote, when it comes to the town, has any money already been sent to whoever's collecting the money from these cities and towns for the vocational school? Because it's
Oh,
been
yeah.
being built. So where's that money coming from? And second, like, when is it gonna be to the people? Because we're gonna be on the hook to do our share.
So we're on
of
the hook, the
vocation.
town is on the hook now, so the money, one of the things just.
It already went to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I
Town-
mean.
The
We're
people spent the money
responsible.
before we had a source of funding. So where we are now, just so you, and this is, it's been a little bit of delayed because they had all those issues up there.
Right.
So there was a delay, so what happened is, I was trying to get them to borrow the money up front when the interest rates are low, and they couldn't understand what I was talking about. Like, I kept, they didn't even want to invite me to meetings anymore. But I wish they had locked into the lower interest rates.
Even though they don't have that lower interest rate because their bond rating sucks.
Right, not as good, right? 'cause
They'd have to
they
use the
right.
states, right?
Right, I think they have one, but it's some kind of a default one, but they would have had lower interest rates. The interest rates kind of went right up like when they didn't, I said, you're better off holding the money, have the cities and towns pay more now, and you're gonna get a benefit later. They waited and the interest rates are higher. I think they, like anything, I know how these projects work, there's a buffer for that a little bit, but they did make cuts, like 10 million out of the project itself at one point, and then I think they got some money. They didn't really trickle too much to the towns and cities, but they got some money that they dumped back into the thing off of, like, I think ARPA money or something with the feds, that they put into the project. But I will tell you what, the money now, so they've been on accelerated borrowing this last fiscal year and into this, they're borrowing a huge chunk of the money now, whereas before they really weren't. So we were paying, and it's coming out of the budget, our operating budget. So now this will hit us, you'll see in the budget, we're gonna be paying a lot more money in our operating budget. So when they, just so you understand, when they borrow money, like in this past fiscal year, it hits
And then
after
current
July.
Yes, right.
So
Because
when they,
that's when the debt service.
right, so then, right, exactly. So when they borrow next fiscal year, we're gonna hit even more the year after. So they are borrowing, we've been paying, and it hasn't been very, enough that's been, noticeable for us. And we put, I don't know if we put some money in a targeted stabilization as well for debt service. I've been trying to chip away a little bit, a few $100,000 every year into that account, so that at some point, if we run into any economic problems, we have some stability to be able to say, okay, this can cover it for a year or two for the debt service.
Scott,
But we're gonna start getting hit pretty hard.
Scott, what's the interest rate they're paying on the loan?
I don't know, I think it's maybe 4 or 5% maybe. I mean, we paid less than 1%
Yeah.
for what we did. I mean, you couldn't plan what we, I mean, this, we hit the right thing.
We also hit it right before the building costs skyrocketed
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, it was in the pandemic, it was
Yeah.
starting to be a problem, but we borrowed the money up front when it was less than 1, but majority of the money we've borrowed is less than 1%. I mean, it's unheard of. I mean, I have managers comment on it all the time, like, wow, the money now, we spent 160 million on that project. Like, you try to do that now, it'd be like 270, 275. We got a good bargain, a good deal, and we did it 6 months in advance. That's why we hired Suffolk. They promised, and I didn't tell everybody publicly, but I put them under contract to complete 6 months earlier, which because of the construction costs alone, and you understand, like, these things, they were like, I don't know, 40, 50,000 a month. For every month it goes, it's that much more money you're attacking on in the end. But we dealt with the thing where the taxpayer got a bill sooner than what we predicted at the beginning, because we were talking about sort of a gradual thing, and we went a little high because we borrowed the money up front, and then we were having some, if you remember, interest, investment income from the money, because we were holding a bunch of the money we borrowed. That's what I was trying to get the vote to do, they just couldn't understand.
My biggest concern on the vote is that it goes to a vote in the town and it doesn't pass. Then we're faced with a real pickle because we could
We still have to
potentially,
pay.
we have to cut services.
Yeah.
And, not that, I don't want to belay the thing, but, and you talk about this all the time, and I don't think people realize, once we go to 1,600 people there, that it's a bigger cost. And the
Right.
other thing that we're sort of experiencing is less than what I predicted.
Yeah.
Because they're only allowing 18 or 19 kids a year.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be under 80 kids in the school system, where we used to have almost 200 on average.
Which helps us right now.
Right now, but it hurts us if you have kids. Like, I
Yeah.
have a younger, might wanna go to the vote, now what do you do?
Yeah,
You know what
I have a relative that was waitlisted and ended up going to Essex Tech.
Oh, yeah.
And we pay more at Essex Tech?
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, so we have I think a handful and a half of kids that are at the, I mean, they're great schools. And the thing, I don't want to get into the thing, but
Yeah.
it's interesting, they're vocational schools, vocational by the vocabulary, by the meaning of it, is that you learn a skill that you can go right into the workforce. 80-something% of the kids are going to college out of there. So it's sort of but they get to pick from kids that have no absentee issues, no discipline issues, which sort of correlates with kids that are probably more driven by academics and to do well. So then they're sort of picking cream of the crop out of the public schools.
So I'm not sure if you can answer this, but
Yeah.
what's the timeline to be able to get all this stuff together and go to the residents and
On the fire,
on all of it? Like, you want to
I
combine,
think we
right?
gotta, I haven't figured the part of whether we should have it both on one thing or we should do it separate, but I can tell you this, statistically, and I think Jeff and I talked about this before, recently, statistically throughout Massachusetts, in this past year, there was, I think, an article in the Globe, almost like 90% of any kind of override of debt exclusion has failed in all different towns and cities. Linfield, I think, just failed, 2 of them just failed for library rate or something else, and so that's what's going on. Yeah, road work. So this is, I think, a different thing. We sell it a different way, but I think we have to be strategic on what we try to do and ask the voters to do. But I think it is an investment, and I think that, and I always said this before when we did the school, and people who had questions and concerns, not in Saugus will never vote for it. People in the town have to decide the direction of the town. Our job is as elected and appointed officials, is to get that plan, get the plan out there and let them decide on the plan. That's why there's a lot of upfront money, because we're gonna have drawings, just like we did with the school, and say, and I think frustrated you a little bit back in the days, we didn't give the price tag right away. And so, like, everybody's like, well, what's it gonna cost? Because it's like, go to a car dealership, they're not gonna tell you what the car costs, they're gonna want you to drive the car first. So I wanted everybody to digest the plan before we said what it's gonna cost. And I think somebody else went out there and said it was gonna cost like quadruple what it really costs. And so when we told what everybody's gonna cost, they thought it was a bargain. So it actually worked out great.
Hard to believe someone put out misinformation.
No.
So it was fantastic, because then people are like, oh, it's a $400 average thing, oh, this is not bad, it's a bargain. But I think that the fighting, we're gonna be moving pretty quickly now. It's just a matter of, I don't wanna create a thing where something's gonna cost more money because people think that the town wants it. And so we sort of got a buffer where somebody's inquiring without saying that who they represent. And so that stuff will come together. But I think what I had them do is they're working on redacting some information from the report, because we have a full report, and we're gonna do a full, soup to nuts presentation, so that people can ask questions and see things on, that we've done. We have consultants that do this, professionally, and build fire stations and public safety buildings and police stations all over the state, or all over New England. So we'll put that on. It's just a matter of trying to carve out and say, well, this is the circle area of what we're looking at, and that the chiefs have narrowed down and figured out where they think we should do that.
So you're anticipating to have that next
I
month?
think maybe March, we'd be ready to do that. I mean, obviously with the budget stuff, it's a matter of, they're ready kind of to go. So they kind of been waiting on the right timing or whatever. So I think March would be good. And then we can always have a special, like, in other words, if we have to, we can have a special, because we're gonna need additional monies, and I may put something in the meantime as a placeholder, but we're gonna need more money to move forward with the consultants to now start to put together conceptual drawings, even though we haven't officially acquired the property. Because I think that we can do, a lot of that work will be, whatever site we choose is gonna be similar, other than the site work stuff, the building.
I got a question. Do you think we should start appropriating money now for a site in a special fund?
We could, it would just be an article. I think we'd probably do something under a unique property And again, wherever we choose, there's gonna be neighbors and different people that are not gonna want it near their area of town.
But that,
We've already dealt with that with the Fellsway.
we don't know where it is, and the location's gonna be now, but at least we'll have the money. That's
Yeah,
just a
that's, no,
thought.
because we may put an article, or maybe just have a special, that way we just focus on that. Because what happens is sometimes you put things like that into a regular annual, and then it bogs the whole night down. And it just becomes like so you're almost better on like the MBTA thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna be looking at doing that. You know, like, because there's an extension, I kinda waited, wanna see the court cases, and we're ready to go. We have a thing, I'm gonna probably set up so have a couple of you guys involved, have like sorta, smaller satellite people to kind of look at and give feedback of what their thoughts are on it, and then get it so that we know it's something that's, we think would pass through town meeting. I just don't want to be in, I want to do something that we comply, but we're not, we're not sort of gonna bring on all those apartments all at once, you know what I mean? So I think that's, we have to kind of feel out town meeting, because ultimately they're the ones that are voting on it, not us, you know what I mean? But I think for the fire thing, I think we'll move pretty quick. I think, I'm honestly, like, I get these, at the beginning I get nervous because there's a lot of responsibility to put things together like this. But I think I am really excited about the project, and I think that this will be a good thing, and I think that the public should, they'll have an opportunity to figure out what they want in the direction of the town. Because people just say, oh, we're gonna have a fight, we're gonna have this, we're gonna have that. It's a lot of money involved in it, but it's the overall thing, it's an investment in the town. And they have to weigh in whether that's important to the overall public safety of the town, because it deals with, response times.
I don't want to cut it short, but I want to keep moving on the next items if we can.
No, I just want to say one thing regarding that. We're all going to our 6th year here together, and we've been talking about the fire station, I think, since day one.
Yeah.
So we're really
They've been talking about for 40 years.
I know. So are we really talking about
Probably
seeing
when we
something?
were on the board back in the
Appropriate
day, we were
96,
talking
yeah.
about it.
March is a target, we might
Yes.
start see, okay.
Yeah, March, I think we'll at least get that out, and that way there, we're gonna get our first sort of feedback of what kind of support we get. Because I think it's easy to say this is a good thing, but it's ultimately gonna be how it's presented, how people digest it, and if we don't do it correctly, everybody goes, oh, we're having this study, we're doing a feasibility, we don't need a drawing. If you don't have something they're gonna vote on, nobody's voting on it. You know what I mean? And I used to joke with Gene Decker all the time. He's a guy that, he wants to see the bottle before he's gonna vote on something or can support it. If you tell him, hey, we have a concept, we have this idea that we're gonna do this, people can't relate to that
Yeah,
sometimes. And
I
I think this is gonna be crucial. This is the most crucial part of this, of how we message this, how we show that this is a professionally thought out plan. Not saying, hey, I remember back in the day, $85,000, we're gonna build 5 schools, and we just don't know where we're gonna put them or build them. People voted it down. And I think we're in a strange environment with the whole state where communities aren't supporting these overrides and debt exclusions for anything. And I think this is really crucial, so I wanna strategically make sure we do it correctly. It's not about like, hey, hurry up and do something. It's really about how do we do this the right way so people have enough time to digest it, and it's just, strategic, I think. And that's really, but we've done the work, we have all the studies, we have all the times and all the different things of, what works, what doesn't, where this thing, and the chiefs have been involved in it, everybody's been involved. There's been a lot of time we've spent on it, once a week meeting on this. So it's a matter of, I think presentation would be, looking at March.
Okay.
And we'll do that. All right? What else? Let's see. Just briefly, about, I think I'm just looking at some of the stuff on the list they have. American Legion, we did all that stuff. We're looking actually bringing heat, upgrading the heating and air conditioning there. They've asked for that, so we're in the process of putting the specs together for that to go out. So other major thing that we're doing that is one of the priorities and goals is the public safety communications improvements. So the communications improvements, our architects and communications consultants have completed the inventory and inspection of the public safety radio room and equipment, alert notification system, satellite communication areas, Tower Hill, and approximately 6 remote sites that transmit or receive radio communication locations throughout the town. Members of the we have a communications committee that we meet regularly. has reviewed the system conditions as required by the consultants and observed satellite locations and worked to determine a prioritized list of communication upgrades. So we're in the point now, we're gonna be going out for bid. So the communication is a little more complicated because it's under 3 different statutes to bid the work. Because some of it's public work, some of it's, construction, 30B. But we're gonna be looking at probably reconstructing a little bit in the public safety building with the dispatch areas and the CO to do the whole room over for the 911 system there. But this also is dealing with all the receivers, and we're also looking to put another tower somewhere on the other, a part of town, so that we have more repetitive communications for public safety. This is something that'll last the next 20, 30 years. There's some things that are on the secondary priority list, and so I may actually have an article looking to get support to do additional work, because as you get into this, they start looking, and then they find more things that we could do that would really make us state-of-the-art communications. I mean, as you guys know, when I get involved, I want to make sure we do it right. You're better off spending the money now, because it's going to be more later, and I don't like putting Band-Aids on things. So I think we may look at looking for a little bit of additional money. As you remember, we got appropriations, we had some state grant money that we have, and so the state delegates have been great with that, and the federal delegation has been great. We've got $1 million. Town meeting is appropriated money, and so we may look for a little bit more money to do the project with the secondary priorities instead of waiting to do them later. We have enough to do what we were planning on. Some other things come up and said that this would be better if we did this and this, so we may have an article come up with that just to be aware. I'll explain that when we get to the town meeting. What else? And so those specs, they're all completed. They're actually, I think, in the next week or this week, going to be going out for bid. And actually, we're lucky because the same consultant that we're using for this is the consultant for the other public safety building, third station. So it's been good because they do this all the time. They have a whole list of communities that built public safety buildings and communications. As you know, we talked about the Anna Parker. We upgraded Anna Parker. The other stuff with the parks and playgrounds. Right now, we're in the design phase, schematic design phase for Golden Hills, Stackpole Field, and we're just waiting to see, I think, with Stalker. So if we're going to move forward with the dog park, we ultimately decide to move forward with that. Right now, we're going to be going to the conservation to sort of make sure that it's even feasible to be able to put a park there. If we're going to move forward, the idea would be to maybe bring in that third park and do them all at the same bundle, because I think we can save money, economies of scale, and get one contractor to do all three. But I think I would be reserved or have reservation about, if we're not going to do the dog park, to just upgrade the playground down there, because it's sort of would be like it is now, vacant and vandalism and all that. So I think that if we can multi-function that park and get more people there, you're going to have less issues if more people are there actually using it for recreational purposes instead of everything else.
Oh, they're using it for recreational.
Yeah. Instead of anything else.
Define recreation.
But the survey work and all that is 90% complete. I think we have to do a couple more things, but we have
Golden
all the
Hills.
surveys for these other ones, yeah. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So we're being designed, once the warmer weather comes, we'll get this out the bid in the next, probably month or two, and then be ready for the warmer weather to do
So
construction.
I know
at
Golden Hills is, I know that's a complete,
Yeah.
revamp, which we know, we've been talking about that. But for Stackpole, would that be including like
It would just be the playgrounds for
the
now.
playground?
Yes.
At Stackpole,
Yeah, so we'd upgrade the playground there. That's 1950s.
which needs it,
Yeah,
right?
just my thought on the playground, Scott,
Yeah.
are we gonna do like, continued work on all these 4 playgrounds, like in Anna Parker, the top lot, we need a new parking lot down there, of course, Golden Hills, but Stackpole, Stalker, if the dog park goes in, can we look at a big plan? Can we get conceptual ideas of what to do with the entire playground? So like the T-ball court needs new branches, fencing.
I
So
think
it's a
that-
matter of how much they use it.
Right.
Let me finish, and then we talked about maybe restoring the beach that used to be there, a picnic area, maybe putting a wooden deck out with fishing poles, or you go kayaking. Just one big plan for Stalker. I think that's what's needed. That's just my thought.
Yeah, no, I don't, I think what we would do is, I think if the dog park goes through, we would add the playground portion into with the other two.
Yeah.
In other words, so you're doing 3 at a time and you have some playground thing, and then we could look at a bigger conceptual thing, because I think it's a matter of Little League, like from years to years, it depends on whether they, sometimes they utilize it, sometimes they don't. It's in flux. The waterway down there is, I guess, my understanding, we have a kayaker that works in my office. You can't kayak off there anymore. Like about a few years ago, we had in the fire department, somebody got stuck in the mud there because the tide goes out. So it's not as what it used to be 15 years ago, where I think the water used to come up a lot more. So we just have to look at what we can use. But the idea would be to get more use out of that recreational area, all these recreational areas, like same thing with Stackpole, like in other words, look at like how do we do more to it, like Anna Park, okay, maybe we look at, we're gonna look at doing the paving and relining, I think of that, and we did the drainage. But like if you take for instance, if you wanted to look at Stackpole Field, now you're talking $5 million. In other words, rather than $1 million, it might be $10 million to do something like that. So I think we're just trying to get my goal, and I think
A
your
little done for
thing,
each part.
so that we don't have abandoned parks. Like you go to, I say this all the time, and you guys have heard me. You go to Revere, Lynn, Malden, Chelsea, they don't have abandoned playgrounds and have abandoned fields like we have. Like over the years, it's not. This happened 40 years ago.
Yeah, we're making up for years of neglect,
Right.
that's why.
Well, and plus we focused on, I think, elder, seniors, which is fine, but I think we really didn't, demographically, we didn't, look at all the different needs of the town. We focused on certain needs, and it was always about, I think, money and what we're spending. And I think people have come around to realize that us spending money and investing in the community makes us a better community, and makes our kids and grandkids and all of us live in a better community. With having events, like the tree lighting and, like you're doing the 411, all that stuff. I think it makes it a better community.
There are parts of Stackpole besides the playground.
They're a mess.
That need
100%.
more, yeah.
Pretty much all
I
of
mean,
Yeah.
I coached, and
100%.
Anthony coached, we coached years ago, and it was, down there was trouble because, World Series fills up because it's not just high school, it's other, so they have to go to sometimes play at Stackpole. JV plays at Stackpole.
Right.
That place really needs some TLC. The concession thing in the back is a mess. The bleachers, the fencing. We really should try to go to town meeting to see if we can even do that on a grander scale.
So to Mike's point, and to be your point, I think is, and you can look at the rail trail as an example, right? The idea, like a stalker, that is sort of like an abandoned, dilapidated,
Yeah.
left alone, in the dark type of playground. We fixed the lights a few years ago just so that the police, and it would deter stuff.
No, so people could see when they drop their
Yeah.
marijuana or their needles. They
Yeah,
could
yeah.
see where they dropped it.
So what the idea is, if you can get people to go there on a regular basis, all that other stuff goes away, because people are using it. If you have multi-uses there, it'll deter all that stuff that goes on. And I think the rail trail is a perfect example. You remember being on the board, and people come in, well, there's gonna be drug dealers, there's gonna be people think, yeah, you're gonna have incidents, but the amount of people that use the rail trail now, it's like parking in a parking lot, there's 30,000 people, no one's gonna break into a car when there's people coming in and out of decks.
Yes.
You're not gonna break into a car there. They're not gonna commit crimes if there's so many people on the rail trail.
Right.
And the idea would be that stuff is gonna go away if we're able to look at more ideas and to use that park for all different
And also,
uses.
then you upgrade and you put cameras and for more
Yes,
security. There's a lot of benefits to the community too, from a safety perspective.
So all these, the park things, Golden Hills and Stackpole, and then we've done in Stockton, we've done the surveys, and they're in schematic design phase now.
But the plan will be to move them into
The
construction
warmer weather, yep,
in the
we're going
warmer
out
weather.
to, once the warmer weather, we're gonna.
Because that's the message that we've been sending.
Yep.
How about the abandoned buildings?
So the school buildings, I think, is a bigger conversation. I think it's like sort of like a rail trail or a dog park issue. I think every time you talk to people, I run into people that
Not in my
say, well, I
backyard.
don't want this in my, you know what I mean? We're not putting this stuff. So I think it's a bigger thing that I'm not gonna be able to own in the sense alone of what we want to do. But I think it takes money, a lot of money. of what we have, what we
But I
decide, because
think
there's a lot of these buildings
I
to capitalize. I have some plans, like we can, talk offline, but I think we got other things moving.
I think if we look at the master plan and we look at the things that the town needs, some of those items are,
We're trying to check the boxes on the
right,
map.
but take off the easy, identify the locations that meet the lowest cost. For instance, we need more cemetery space, right? We need, senior housing is expensive, veterans housing is expensive. Cemetery space, community area, gathering area, those are less costly because we're not constructing something significant. And I think we have to look at what the needs of the town are as a whole, and then kind of identify which parcels would potentially satisfy that need, and then go from there. I mean, right now we look at 6 buildings and people are like, oh, the town's paying to maintain these buildings and blah. The buildings are crap. Those buildings, with the exception
You
of...
can't use it.
Right.
And there's
I mean,
classrooms.
Right. I mean, those buildings have no real value. If any, the town's not selling them, but everybody's like, oh, they're gonna put apartments there. Nobody's gonna come and build with the existing unit, the existing stuff that's there. It's all garbage. It's probably asbestos and everything else, that
Big
to
time.
worry about.
Oh, yeah.
So, realistically speaking, no matter what's done, the buildings are gonna be raised. That's inevitable.
Correct.
And then you're dealing with environmental remediation and whatever other issues. So I think from a community perspective, that's something we need to get together from a community perspective and say, what do you want? I mean, we have a lot of items that we're going in front of the voters for.
That's what I guess my point is, I think timing wise, I think the buildings and stuff are a little bit further, but I
mean, do you
have-
want a third, do you
I
want
do
to...
have stuff, plans for certain things, but I
Right.
don't wanna, let's get
Right.
people to digest
I
this
mean,
before we.
are they gonna vote to support the VOC? Are they gonna vote to support the emergency response station, and then vote to repurpose the buildings, and then vote to continue to do more parks and play? I mean, these all have dollars attached to them, and then the residents are complaining because their Comcast bill, mine just went up, 8%. I'm paying $415 a month. So, it can't be both.
Come over your house to watch TV.
Yeah, well, might be cutting cable soon, so, nuts. But, so,
Yeah, no, I agree.
my
So I think
point is, I don't
timing-wise,
wanna
let's focus on
overwhelm.
this.
It's easy for a group of people on Facebook to say, what about these buildings, and why can't these school buildings be used? Yeah, okay, but as soon as you bring up the concept of raising taxes,
Yeah.
they're complaining now because their taxes go up
And you always say, it,
2.5%.
people are very spoiled, I don't know what the right word is, very fortunate
Yeah.
to have that, a lot of, all the stuff we're doing is within the budget.
Within the
other than
budget,
school thing.
right.
That's unheard of in any other
Right.
community. So when they go to do road work,
Yeah.
they're going to an override,
Yeah.
and people voted it down.
Yeah.
For a debt exclusion.
Debt exclusion, right.
We've been doing all this as much as we can with getting well, why not my sidewalk? My
Yeah.
thing, we're doing a ton. We did $3.2 million worth of road work this year, more than we've ever done ever.
Yeah.
With some grant.
I mean, Linfield had to have their vote for their public safety upgrades twice. The
Yeah.
first time it got denied
Yep,
for their public safety.
yep,
And just to upgrade the building.
right.
So I just,
We got a lot here.
I caution people
Yeah.
because I think we need to see what the impact of the VOC and what the impact of a potential third location for emergency management, what that's gonna impact our residents first. Because we have a lot of seniors in this town that, to be honest with you, they could give a rat's ass if we knock down Lyndhurst and we're gonna build something at Lyndhurst or Oaklandville. They wanna pay their bills. And I just,
Yeah.
I don't think we need to overburden them either. And maybe we could look into something about senior exemptions and what that impact would be to the rest of the community.
We were just talking, Corey and I were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah, I mean,
A woman, when I was coming out of town.
What about people that get married, they just have a baby at 25?
I know,
Exemption for them.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're
no, but I'm saying if you're
No,
75, 75 years old,
No, but it's
and you're
true.
living on Social Security, and with the town gets a vote to build something, a community center on one of these parcels, right? You vote no, but it passes. You're 75 years old, now you're automatically incurring that burden, even if you can't afford it, you don't have a choice.
Right.
And to me, you're trying to plan out the rest of your life on Earth, and I think there's a lot of things we've hit 4 years of ridiculous inflation, and it's real, and it's here. And, I'm hoping something's gonna happen and it's gonna get easier, but right now, people are really struggling. They're really struggling, and, so
So I agree, I think, like, this is a lot here, we'll get to the others, I think there's other things, I have some other stuff in the works, but it's not stuff that should come out now, you know what I mean? I think that we focus on this and try to strategically get people behind a couple of projects, especially the ones we're gonna need the votes for. And we continue with the parks and playgrounds, and like, you guys have all good ideas, and I'm sure whatever we do is gonna be controversial anyway, like, some, of course, you know what I mean?
One last point on that, when do you think we're looking to go to a vote to the people? Would be the same election as November?
I think we have to kind of talk about that. No, we definitely don't want to have it on the same election. It won't pass, you know what I mean? You don't want to do that. That's a mistake they all make. So that's why we would want to have it on a different time, so that you get the people that
Before or
support it
after?
up. I don't know. That'd be a good question. I think we'll know more probably in the next 3 to 4 months. We'll have a better idea, I think, the property acquisition and the information.
We also have to figure out what the final impact of the vote is gonna be now.
Well,
Now that they're finalizing dollars,
It's
right? So that
strategic.
number, they wouldn't even give us a
That's
number
right.
at one point, right? If we can get a final construction number,
I know.
and now we know what their borrowing
They
rate
probably
is, they wouldn't
don't
even
even
publish
know.
that.
Yeah.
So we can kinda get a sense of what the impact to our, and now we gotta get an answer on kids,
Yeah.
right? They were telling us there was gonna be 100 and something kids, we're
Yeah.
getting 80 kids. They're only allocating 18 or 19. You got 25 graduating, and they're replacing them with 18 Saugus kids.
Right.
I don't know how those numbers work.
Correct.
So-
And then if that ever changes and goes back to the 225,
Right.
200,
Yeah,
which would be, what's that, 50 a year?
Yeah.
We have a
Significantly more money
different issue.
to us.
right.
We have a different issue, and then when it goes online, we have a budgetary issue, it's different.
So that's the question I think we have to ask, Anthony, is, you know,
And
how do we...
strategically, do we put both on the same time, or do we try to look at the VOC and the public safety building differently?
Right.
You know?
But the question is...
Definitely not on the
The
same
question is,
election.
Yeah.
when we put it to a vote for the vote, the question you need to get to the consultants that we use
Yeah.
is, how do you price it? Do you price it based on what you know is in the school now, or do you price it based on what they pitch to us
Yeah.
as a potential number of kids that are gonna go to the town? I
Well,
think
you
you have
probably
to
just
do it
come up
based...
with a number that says, you know, this is the number, and it's somewhere in between that probably.
Yeah,
Madam Chairman, just
Yeah.
one final question.
What do you have?
It has nothing to do with building buildings,
No?
but taking them down.
College.
And not schools.
College shoes.
Cliftondale Square, our parking lot.
Yep.
What's the status
Are
on
you
that?
for the parking lot?
Yes.
Okay, are you for the parking lot? Is the board for the parking lot?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have it right here.
Oh, okay. I know it
That
needs,
was, we haven't got to that, but I got that right here.
Cliftondale needs some work.
Yeah.
I think we should do it. I
The
think we
road
should do a
system, I know we're gonna
parking
put a
garage.
gas line in there,
Do
so
two
that's not
levels.
gonna happen
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
But something with that rotary, that design that they put there, I think that the circle's too big, but we need something permanent there, granite curbing and stuff.
I
But
almost
the
get
road
killed
needs,
there all the time.
So you,
The
the
road,
problem,
huh?
the problem
Animals
with,
get killed
the
there all the
problem with the
time.
permanent thing, if you go down to like where the market basket is in Lynn.
Yes, I
It's a
go there
much
all the
larger
time.
thing. You can't put a permanent thing, you'll have cars flipping over. You can't put a permanent,
granite curbing and stuff.
people would flip the
there.
cars over.
What if you shrink
You'd be
the
stuck-
size of
You'd
the
be like going
rotary?
through the drive-through at Dunkin' Donuts at Essex Street.
What if you make the rotary, what if you make the actual rotary itself smaller, so you can build the circle around?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you have to have somebody look at that, you know, as part of a bigger plan.
I mean, I don't drive through it as much, obviously, as you.
I think it's worse now than it was before. with the
It is
paint.
worse.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's what
even
happens
when you're
when you
on the
hire
street and they have the lines painted,
You're
the
right.
car will come
The
inside
plan
you.
Yeah.
is.
But if you
They-
have
they
like
used
curbing,
to
then the
it.
cars
People
will
don't
flip
know
off.
what
No, I-
It'd be
No,
like
they
people
don't.
going through a
They
drive-through.
Well, the road needs, I mean, they're putting a gas line in there, but
Correct.
that road needs to be
Correct.
repaved. It's
I
a
agree.
mess down there. But what about the parking lot?
So the parking lot, I have it right here, that's what my next item was, so we, as you know, we got $1 million earmark from the feds on this. I mean, a $2.3 million earmark.
Yeah.
So we have some money, I think we might need a little more, but the plan is once the which is imminent now, we have the thing, but once the RFP development is scheduled, is to begin, once the communications and playground plans and specs are completed and advertised, which will be in the next few weeks, we're gonna have them jump on to looking at doing design work and schematics over putting together a plan about raising the bill, taking the buildings down and putting a parking lot in place, and then we would go off for specs with
Are we
that.
gonna look into maybe having,
But that's probably, you know, like over the next summer, we're gonna be doing it, and we have to use the money, so we're at a timeline a little bit too, you know what I mean? So we're gonna be moving that pretty,
How long is that grant good for? About 3
couple of years, yeah.
are we gonna look into potentially having like a garage there?
I don't know.
Or 2 levels?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think
Because I
that's
just
something
don't know
we
how
can
many
look at.
cars you're possibly gonna fit in.
They'll do all those studies. The consultants will look and say, what do you have for businesses? What do you anticipate? I
But I
think the
don't-
garage is a lot more money. I mean, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying now?
Well, I'm not even saying, you know, no,
I think we should just do the parking lot first. If we need extra, then we can
Maybe
think
look at
about
it later.
that down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the idea would be is like those Boston meters, like that way there, sort of people aren't staying there more than for like, you know, an hour and a half or something,
Yeah.
or 2 hours
Yeah.
at a time, or an hour at a time. So
yeah, because it's gonna basically, you know, if not, if you don't have
You'll
that,
be
it's
taking
just
the
gonna
bus.
become,
It's gonna
no,
be a
right.
bus, yeah,
Bus
people are gonna park there
people,
and get on the bus.
absolutely,
And it'll be the same people every single day.
Yeah.
yeah. Or employees of people in.
we'd have to make sure that whoever's doing tickets, that they don't write enough tickets, they gotta go out and write some more tickets. You know?
Another ticket person.
Income.
Well, to be honest with you, now, the automated systems,
Yeah.
you wouldn't even need a person.
Yeah.
The
On
automated
those, yeah.
system tracks the.
On those, yeah, no, I know,
Yeah.
and then they.
It's crazy.
And if it's over 2 hours, you have to go out and move the car out.
Well, they got cameras on the actual thing that takes a picture and knows when your car moves out of the spot.
Yeah.
And if not, you get a violation notice right on you.
Well, I think they're
Right
even
on your
getting to a more sophisticated way, you pull away and the thing goes to zero. So
Yeah,
the next
that's what I'm
person has to
talking
pay
about.
full price again.
Yeah.
It's not even like.
You can't
find,
use
they
the,
go-
Oh, yeah, you don't
you
get
can't
the
use the
benefit.
balance of the meter anymore. Remember before you used to
And on
put the
the-
thing in
Yeah.
and you turn 2 hours?
yeah.
You leave and grab a meter and it still has an hour on it, you get that hour. Now, as soon as you pull away, the camera sees that you pull away, it resets.
Yeah,
to
because they get
zero.
all those apps, you can find spots that are open.
Yeah.
Like too, there's all these different things, but they have the, you know, on your, if you have the app, it won't even let you add time if you've already been there for the.
Yep.
You have to go to a different zone.
Yep. Yeah, I know all about it.
Yeah.
I'm in Boston all the time, so it's actually pretty sophisticated how it does it, but the way it resets also is you have to put in your information. So it knows that you're not on the previous balance, once you have to, you know, put your credit card information or whatever. It's bananas.
So basically, that's, once we get the stuff out for the communications and the playground stuff, we're gonna be jumping on to taking that full speed. I just wanna make sure everybody's on board, because I know even at town meeting, it was sort of, I let things settle, like, you know what I mean? Because at town meeting, it was like a controversy about what we're gonna use it for, we're gonna sell it for something else, is somebody gonna buy it? Like, it sort of, I always kinda wait till things sort of settle down
I
before.
think we're all on board about a parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna take down the
I think you'd probably take both,
the house.
yeah? Yeah, so you could go right through both sides.
Yeah, it's easy to
That's
come
what
and go
we-
out of there.
Right.
Uh,
I thought that was the plan anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I just want, you know, kind of let things settle a little bit and make sure that everybody's, you know, any ideas may have come up and we can hear. Otherwise, you start moving forward and everybody's, you know, trying to stop it before it gets going. So, okay, so it's good. The other big major project, priority that we're doing, and I know these aren't the sexy things, but these are the things from 20 years or 30 years from now, they're gonna say, who are those smart people that were on the board of selectmen and the manager? They got all this
I
stuff.
won't even remember us
Yeah.
the day after we don't run again.
Oh, you got your bag, we'll sit right at the bench. Who's this guy? Feeding the birds. But
You're looking to get any glory, you're in the wrong job here, folks.
so, you know, obviously we're doing a ton of water and sewer, but the thing that we're taking on now, and we're actually had a kickoff meeting, we're moving forward pretty quickly, it's gonna move quickly, is the water meter replacement. So it's about a $6 million project. And we're lucky with the funding, we're using the ARPA money, although it was tied up for a little bit, we got a little nervous, so I think it's loosened up again.
How much
now.
ARPA money spent?
We're gonna use the whole thing, so we're not hitting the water or sewer. So we're looking at about $6 million that
That
we've held
much?
for,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So we have to use it by December of 2026, so this project's gonna move pretty quick, we've already.
When
had
are
a
they gonna
kickoff
start the installs?
meeting. Starting, we just had an actual kickoff meeting was it yesterday? Was it
So
Wednesday?
the plan is to start installing,
No,
like,
Tuesday, what's that?
they're gonna start installing this summer?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So one of the things that we're gonna do is we're doubling up because we have to do that lead and copper rule. So we're now gonna be able to take pictures of the stuff that's in
okay.
people's houses to get the rest of the information and sort of identify different things in there, so that'll help. But that project is another sort of, you know, a grind. It's a lot of work. We've been meeting like every other week for, you know, months. And now we finally that's another one that's complex with how you go out to bid, because it's under different statutes, because there's software, there's installation, there's, you know, hardware, so they have to be bidded differently. But we've awarded all those people different contracts, and we're starting to move forward now. So I won't bore you with all that, but there's a lot of good stuff that's happening there, and that will help so that if you have a water thing that goes up in that same day, you can have things, you'll be able to access it. You would get notified that you have a water issue, so that you don't wait until 6 months and then say, why is my water bill, $1,200 or whatever, $2,000. So I think that's gonna be good for everybody. And it's all done by gateways. So in other words, you'll have an internet system, just like we have with the streetlights, all through the whole town, so that all feeds into our new software system. So,
I heard they had quite a disaster over at the Sears Automotive.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A billion gallons
Oh, it's crazy.
of water in the basement.
Yeah, big
And
time.
10 feet of water in the basement at the Sears Automotive Center.
How
They
did
had
they find that out?
They-
Huh?
How did they find it out, though? Someone just, it's closed, the
It's a
building.
culvert that
I think they went
runs
to
right
check it.
underneath that
Yeah,
hill.
Someone just went to
Yeah,
go
the-
check.
The
They
private,
mentioned that the Board of
the
Health
guy that's
meeting, yeah.
managing it.
Managing it, saw it, but the problem obviously now is because of environmental,
Yeah,
given
'cause-
what the previous use was.
Right.
Right.
So there's a lot of issues
So
there.
there's a culvert.
And
It's right
they said
underneath.
8 to 10
I
feet
thought
of
Penny
water.
Mark.
And now they might
Remember
have
when
to
that
pump it
drop
up
in years?
because
Yeah.
they
Sears.
can't let it naturally dissipate.
He
Yeah,
owns
because it might be
everything around it.
contaminated.
Wow.
Oh.
Because there's
I
all
thought you
oil,
bought the
oil
Sears
and ties.
all
Just in the drying.
They,
Probably not now.
Yesterday?
Julie said, what?
Today?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah,
Yesterday?
it's mentioned at the.
So the other thing that I know everybody, this is an important issue we've been talking about for a couple of years, and we finally, it took almost a year to get delivery, but we have a generator set up here. They're actually just trying to, I think, make sure, test it, and at the senior center.
Nice.
So when
Good.
both units are spent, good money on it, and it got approved by town meeting, but these will run the entire building if the power goes out, not just emergency stuff, so that's, I'll
They're
tell them that.
they're getting hooked up?
They're already hooked up now. So they did all the hookup. We're waiting for delivery since the beginning of last summer or
Yeah.
something like that, or I think in the spring we ordered them. So it's a full generator here and at the senior center.
And that's the senior, not that this isn't important, but the senior center as well, because God forbid if
Emergency,
there's
yeah.
ever emergency for heat and electricity,
Shelter.
go there as a shelter.
Yep.
They've been asking for that one.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
So, yeah, it takes longer than you think, believe it or not. I mean, it's unbelievable with the amount of time that gets to order some of this stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I think, we talked about we did the floors upstairs. We put, I don't know if you've noticed all the blinds that we've done in the
Yeah,
town hall.
looks nice.
We painted upstairs. We're probably gonna look at doing some painting, on the bottom of this floor and the down below floor, to kind of make sure we keep the building upkept.
Can I ask a request?
Yes.
Oh, did you ask?
What do you got?
Upstairs, when you look up on the
I know exactly what you're gonna
Oh.
say.
Can you get rid of the
Put-
junk?
Or either that or put up a screen,
That's what I
something.
said.
Do you have room at your house?
No, God, we're
Is there a
full,
way
we're
we could
full.
at least put them in boxes or something?
I'll take a look.
Even
Look-
just a screen, like a.
They sell the dividers, that's what
They're
I
the
said.
only ones that see it.
Exactly. Oh, my goodness. We looked up, I'm like,
I know. That does look a little ratty.
it does.
You know.
Especially that you did so much work up there.
I don't know what's in the rooms behind it. That's what I said. It said to
No, those are the stairs.
both sides?
Yeah?
I thought there was a room on one side.
No?
Really?
Yeah.
So whose bright idea was it to put stuff up on the balcony?
I think it's been there since I was there, the pictures and everything.
It's looking much
It's
worse.
I think, to be honest with you, us cleaning it up and having better lighting, like, I don't think we had the lights working.
So it says no. It says
Somebody
no.
shut the lights
Shut the
off.
lights off and we won't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw a drape over it.
Balcony.
Yeah, that looks really
It does.
tacky.
I mean, that's it.
So some of the DPW projects, just to kind of update with that is, because I think we've hit the major goals and priorities that we've been working on. I'm just trying to think if there's anything left out. No, I think that's the most of the bigger stuff. We talked about this sidewalks. We've done 3,000 linear feet of sidewalks. It's 95 separate locations. $3.2 million worth of road paving that included grants in Chapter 90, as well as appropriations from town meeting, which is, I think normally we do maybe 700,000, so we did quite
How
a
many
bit.
did you say?
$3.2 million worth of road paving. Sewer rehabilitation, we continue to move forward even beyond the ACO. So we're looking at, we did the sub-area PS4, that was completed in 2024. We have a 5-year plan developed for guardrail work. Each year, 1 or 2 of the areas are completed, and we do about $120,000 worth of work each year. We've been getting allocations, appropriations from town meeting and doing that guardrail work and upgrading guardrails. Vehicle replacement, the DPW, I think, has been thrilled. We've had a lot of support here and at the town meeting for newer vehicles, and especially now when you can't get the inspection stickers. So I think we're, way away from 20 years ago when I first got on. They didn't have. Now we have 3 sidewalk plows and new trucks that are coming in. The problem is that when you order the trucks, they take a year and a half to get some of these, the 5 tons that we're replacing. We're still waiting on.
What's up with that restriction on the diesel? Did they lift that?
Yeah, I think it's on hold now.
Good,
Yeah,
because that was ridiculous. I mean, that was under the old administration, but
Yeah.
saying that you can't purchase diesel trucks, new diesel trucks anymore, which I don't understand the logic behind that. We're gonna have electric trucks do plowing and stuff, like plugging them in and charging them while you're going and stuff.
every hour.
But I know there was some concerns there with DPW guys about, like, what are we gonna do
Yeah.
if we can't get diesel trucks going forward?
DPW continues. We have the same thing, a long-term plan that we've been doing hydrant replacement. We do so many a year. I think we did 10 last year, in 2024. What else? Design, water mains. We've been doing water mains work as well each year, and as you know, taking advantage of the low-interest loans, leak detection. Let's see, lift stations. As we know, we appropriate money. We did a whole thing with lift stations, and we have a master plan that we're doing each year on upgrading those lift stations and everything. So a lot of preventive maintenance stuff so that we don't have these emergency breakdowns.
A lot of relining of pipes too.
Yes, yep, all the sewer, they're doing relining. I mean, there's tons of stuff. We have a major project going on now with brook cleaning. We're gonna do miles of, I think like a mile worth of brook cleaning as a bigger project, and we got appropriations to do that.
That's been a while.
Yeah, so we do like small, each thing they do every year, they have certain areas that are in the buildup, that this is kind of a bigger thing. They're gonna have to go in front of the conservation, I think, to get
So
put it in a line.
which brooks?
I don't know, specifically, it's all.
Yeah, and then somebody asked me about Gilway the other day down by the Fells Way and said it was not cleaned up, so I know that we've gotten a lot of inquiries regarding that area.
Yeah, so this is a bigger project, I think, to get more done. So, normally we just do they have like a rotation of every 3 years they do something, so this is a bigger project. Playground, we talked about this, Anapaka, we're looking at, obviously, the road, the parking lot as well as possibly getting it relined and sort of organized a little better. We expect it'll be pretty busy.
On a longer term plan, not this year, because we already are mapped out, but on your next plan, can you also include the tot lot at Anapaka
Yeah,
for replacement upgrades? It's kind of in rough shape over there, and
Yeah.
now
mentioned
that'll
that
kind of,
earlier.
the rest of the park's in really good shape, so it would be, soccer does a nice job keeping up,
Yeah.
maintaining. I know a lot of the parents do work on the baseball side of the house. I did want to ask, this is only because I'm so OCD about it. Is there a way that I know we looked at, I had notes from '23, see if we can get some grant funding or something to help provide residents with covered barrels on recyclables? And I'll tell you why, Scott. If that's the case, we should just stop recycling, because there's no way it's helping the environment. On windy days, it goes everywhere. I can't tell you how many hours going around the neighborhood just picking up the barrels, like when they tip over. It makes a mess, and how is that good for the environment? Like, we're talking, oh, let's recycle, but then when the crap blows all over the town, there's no way it all gets picked up. It blows into the rivers, it blows into the streams. We got those bins that they used to have. I understand they were convenient, but they're not practical, and a lot of people still use them. They're small. They fill them up to the top like a mound. A wind comes by, it just blows whatever's off the
Yeah,
top.
it's everywhere.
so I think one of the things that I'm gonna be putting together, I've already talked to a few people, but I'm gonna put a committee together Because with some of those changes, you need town meeting sort of to be involved in it there's a bylaw for certain changes. So I'm gonna have sort of a committee I've already talked about, but I think that somebody besides me needs to sort of support maybe some kind of a bylaw that says you have to have covers and a thing, because I think what you're saying is one of the issues, but I think there's a bigger thing coming up where we have incineration and hauling, and the hauling is now becoming more challenging to get them to do manual, and we've had 3 years of options that are gonna run out in July.
You mean they want to use the trucks?
They want to use the automated trucks,
Automated
but
trucks.
again, there's a huge
Expensive.
expense for those things. It's probably $1.5 million to buy the totes, like one for trash and one for recycling, but they have the covers and all that. So I think we're, having a committee exploring that, and I've already reached out to a few people, and I'll ask more people to kind of give them up with ideas so that they can propose something at town meeting, and that'll help me and give me, some guidelines or some direction as far as negotiating for
When this was brought up before, there was resistance because of all the hills that we have here in
Yeah.
Saugus.
Yeah.
And you said that a lot of cities and towns were having a lot of issues with that
Yes.
because they couldn't get up to
Yeah.
the top. So I thought that was the reason why we didn't have the tops and we didn't have the kinds of, like they have in winter, for
Oh,
example.
no, you could have them any one, it's about cost. If you want to pay for them, somebody's got to pay for them, $1.5 million.
So it's not an issue getting up to the top?
It is, for electric vehicles, it is an issue on
Yeah.
the hills. So they have to do a combination, like
And-
PBD, I think they do a
And
combination.
honestly, Scott, maybe it would be something where we subsidize it and residents incur some of the costs,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like whatever, maybe we have it so that, seniors would be exempt and
And new families. And then the ones in the middle.
Either one,
The kids are in college.
yeah, nah. I'll pay my way to avoid the crap blowing all over the
And
place.
is
but-
this
But
crazy?
I think that all this stuff, has to be looked at, because I
I
think that
get
there's
it.
an option to stay manual,
Yeah.
but you could still have a bylaw that says you have to
And
have
there's
actual
no
containers.
grants, there's no grants out there. I would think that all these green, well, I mean, maybe not today
Yeah, I
because
know.
it's less,
Well,
but,
that was, yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, you would think that there would be, like, all these,
There used to be
These-
years ago. but now-
these agencies that want to promote.
Honestly, and the truth is, nobody wants to hear this, right? All other communities pay a trash fee,
Yeah,
and that trash fee goes to paying for things like that.
yeah.
So
No, that's factual.
We don't, so in
Well, I
other words, it's
noticed
100%, like, right?
I noticed
100%.
there's a much less restriction on recycling. Before, they used to make you separate,
Yeah.
Now there's no separation. They dump it all in the
Well,
same
they just
spot.
keep taking things out that you can't put in anymore.
Yeah.
And then people put them in a green bag, and it's
Yeah.
like, sort of defeats the whole purpose.
No, but I'm just saying, like, before, you used to have to segregate cardboard and from plastic.
Now
and
it's single
Now it's
stream.
single stream.
But I will tell you, from a budgetary standpoint, you're gonna look, we're gonna look at hauling's gonna double.
Yeah,
If we
yeah.
go to the system we're talking about, so that's why the impact would be,
Yeah.
is gonna be enormous. I wanna make sure there's other people involved
Mhm.
in understanding it, so they don't show up criticizing, well,
Yeah.
this is a
No,
problem,
it's
that's a
a
problem.
good point.
Because I was fortunate enough to negotiate a contract with 3 years of options before Republic took over, and that's been sort of what the issue has been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And so now.
No,
that's
I'm
coming to
sure,
an
I'm
end.
sure it's gonna, the good news is, if there is a new game in town that Lynn signed on with,
Yes,
which puts price pressure on
Correct.
Wynn, so
correct.
that helps us
Yeah,
in
and
that
that's the,
sense.
that's the tipping stuff, so
Yeah.
that's right now, we're in the process now.
Yeah. So that at least helps us.
Everything is, is increasing.
Yeah.
You know, like, now it's catching up. I had a lot
Listen.
of good contracts that were, pretty good.
I say this all the time to everybody, show me a house in Saugus or a house in anywhere where your expenses today are less than they were a year ago, or less than they were a year before that.
Yeah.
Everything's going up, and
Yeah.
at some point, it's gotta slow down.
Yeah, I agree.
You're looking at the same company that Lynn went with, Scott?
On which thing, on the
The
consideration?
trash.
No, I think we're looking at different, I think, I don't want to say, we're in negotiations right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
keep checking.
So,
Oh, snow started?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Like an
It's a
hour.
little wet.
Oh, it's snowing. Okay.
Now, let's call school off.
They already did,
Very good,
yesterday.
right.
Did they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they canceled it like,
Yesterday.
I'm like, we never had that
Yeah.
luxury.
So the other thing I think that, and I'm glad it doesn't get overlooked, is our bond rating. It's enormous for when we go out and we borrow money. It allows the taxpayer dollar to be able to go do more projects and more things. We've continued to, we just recently were reaffirmed for the AA+ stable bond rating with Global, it's just, again, it's a great credit rating for us. From where we've been, when I took over, we weren't even able to have people they wouldn't lend us money in the town of Saugus. Mike was on the board. We had to go up to the State House and go under their bond rating, and actually have a whole criteria of things that we had to do and to satisfy that.
We used to have negative free cash back then. I said, what's that? I never heard of it.
Yeah.
Negative free cash.
So that I think we continue to try to do, having that, the capital plan stuff that we do, that prevents all this emergency work and as much as we can and allows us with the HVAC systems. And again, I've said this before, we've taken such great advantage with the pandemic money, the ARPA money, all these things, I think, to help so that there's not a burden on the taxpayers. And we've done a ton of work in all these buildings and roadways and water and sewer and all that. So we continue to have all different master plans and capital plans with all the different aspects of the town. And eventually, after 10, 15 years, that stuff starts paying off because we have things that aren't breaking down. We're not having a company out here. I was here when I first started, we'd have like every day in the winter, there'd be a company at all our buildings because there was a heating issue in every single building, like every single day. It's crazy. All the building maintenance budget would be zeroed out by like December just because of all those issues. So that's good that we don't have those issues, and that, I think that's part of what the global S&P looks at, is it looks at the management and the budgetary and all that. The new growth obviously helps us, so we have to, we have a balance of that with new construction. Obviously, the highlights of the is S&P ratings. Renowned municipal credit rating agency explained in its recent report that general credit worthiness is characterized by comprehensive and forward-looking management practices, consistently balanced positive operations, and strong reserves. Grading of the S&P for Saugus, expectations that the town will maintain its strong budgetary performance and very strong financial reserves. And they look for stability within government. They look for stability within our management and budgeting practices. Let's see, grant funding, just a kind of couple things. Some of the grants that we've received, we had just recently, we just completed the work, or just completing $200,000 with the Green Communities. We had grant money that we used to do some of the flashing lights that I think Donald was instrumental in yourself getting for us, that we put down in Jackson. Somebody hit one, we got it put back up. And luckily,
as long as it was that, not a person.
Someone knocked one down.
Yeah, we got the car, so at least they paid for it. So,
Good.
So, the mobile guys, so we put a bunch of those around. We were awarded, I think I talked about $1 million for direct federal funding to support the public safety communications upgrades. Another federal earmark that I was able to get was the $2.3 million for Cliftondale for the parking lots that we're going to be moving forward over the summer with the designs. We had $940,000 with the Seaport Economic Council for Saugus, and once that, I think the weather gets better, we'll sort of have a grand opening down there. We're going to look at trying to get some furniture. So it's a nice project. So that was done with state grant money through the Seaport Economic Council. They applied for, I don't know, 8 years ago. It just took, with the pandemic and all the the Chapter 91 stuff, it goes on forever. But we're finally come to the thing, and we're going to look at applying for a second phase down there. Also, $250,000 for lead service line inventory. We got a grant for that, so we had an appropriation, but we're using the grant now for that's the lead and copper. $100,000 that we got through conservation and recreation. Another $20,000 that we got for Office of Public Safety, to support educational programs for road safety and initiatives to safeguard bicycles and pedestrians. This is all from last year. Town received a grant $111,000 in change to support police 911 training, and another $25,000 for police dispatcher training. We received another $68,000 for assistance to firefighters grant that was used to purchase turnout gear. Another $50,000 state earmark for the Golden Hills Playground.
How much?
$50,000. Fire department received $37,500 earmarked to purchase Lucas devices that help emergency responders administer chest compressions to patients in cardiac arrest. Those are those manual machines. I don't know if you've seen them before. So we got a grant for that. Just, I don't want to keep you all here, but public health, we've dealt with having the flu and COVID things that have been pretty successful. I know you can get them anywhere now, but there's still a lot of employees that, it's always good, I always try to push and leave those opportunities for employees, because the less employees are sick, the better, and they don't come to work and get everybody else sick and all that. So we do run those flu clinics that have been, I think, very helpful. And then we did get a grant, and I don't know where it's at, and Debbie, you might know more, or Mike, about the air quality thing.
Air monitors, we've been waiting for them to get back to us for
About
a
location.
location, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They never reached out to you about on Bristol Street, the end of
They
Bristol
said at the end of it, I told them whatever they
I know,
needed, we would
I know, you
provide it
told
for
me
them,
that,
any
yeah.
support. I
Yeah,
haven't heard that.
Went on the site visits, we did all of the preliminary work, but we can find out about that.
Okay. And I think just to talk about, we continue to do a lot of these community quality of life functions, like the tree lighting. We had the menorah ceremony, we have Founder's Day, all these different things I think that help the town, I think, and bring the community together. You're doing the 411 seems to be pretty successful, the board initiative for that, and those type of things. We talked about the generators. There's a ton of stuff we've done, building maintenance. I don't want to bore you with all that, but there's a lot of good stuff that's happened with the buildings that prevents things from happening in the future. With roofs, and we've done a roof, fixed the roof over at the library. We've done some work at the senior center. We had a leak there. We fixed that. We've done some, sprucing up of the buildings. Our next project we're looking at is at the MAG, looking at the facial, the chimney, the horses, the eaves, all that stuff. So we're looking at putting specs together now to do something there once the weather breaks. So I think that, that's, I could go away, there's a million more things, but that's like a nutshell. The bigger things that we're looking at, to continue moving forward with those projects. Like I said, some of these projects are, 1, 2, 3, 4-year projects that we're moving forward. The other stuff is stuff that we do annually that are based on capital plans and planning, I think, for the future, so that we do long-term stuff on every different aspect to prevent emergencies and different things breaking down, and we try to anticipate things that are going on. I think you guys have been great. Finance committee's been great, and as well as town meeting, at appropriating things that we are able to identify. I think what we've done very successfully is identify what the needs are, try to put together a plan and what the funding would be, and then present that ultimately the town meeting for their appropriation, and we've been pretty successful at that. We'll continue to do that this year.
We also have, in less than 2 years, the Comcast contract is going to be renewed, so whoever gets elected in the next election, they're going to have to start working on that pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah, and whatever assistance you guys do with that, I'm happy to help. Happy to help with that, whatever assistance you
Yeah,
need with that.
I worked on it the last time. It was, I remember how much time I put into that to make sure that it was fair and equitable. When we didn't go up on the rates either with any of the people in Saugus, because we had money in the bank at that point. And we said it was unfair to charge Saugus residents additional monies.
Yeah.
So that's something that a group of people that have to get, 2 people out of the Board of Selectmen will work and with the Comcast, probably with an attorney as well, and kind of work that out. But that process is a long-term process. It's not something you can do a month or 2 ahead of time. We touched on the abandoned buildings, and I understand you have an awful lot on your plate. I
have some other, things happening, that we're looking at, but I think we're not close to being at that stage.
It's just that's probably the number one thing when people call up and they're concerned. Especially, I can tell you the number of people that call regarding the Lyndhurst, and unfortunately, Facebook has a fun time, guessing at what's gonna happen, and we keep telling people that there have been no decisions made on those
The
buildings.
migrants moved in and they moved out of there 4 times.
I don't know. Well, that is a concern.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's,
speaking of that, what's the percentage of them in our hotels right now?
I don't, actually, it's not, I don't think they moved out, out of,
Peabody Holiday Inn is 100% migrant now.
well, so I don't want to say too loud, but they have a facility in Len and off-site, and a lot of them have been moved out. So our school, I think, has been less impacted, knock on wood, I don't want
Yeah.
to thing, but they've set up places, I think, that are more suitable, because living, and no matter whether you're a migrant or anybody,
Homeless, yeah.
living, homeless, whatever, living out of a hotel with a, whatever burner thing it doesn't make any sense at all for a thing, but I don't know, they've made other arrangements. The state conveniently changed some of the occupancy things for hotels and all that before this happened, so it's like, I think they were anticipating this kind of.
They saw it coming,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they, I don't think that's a good thing, you know what I mean, living in a hotel room with the family, not, permanently doesn't seem like.
Yeah, I guess in Peabody yesterday, a little 18-month-old baby got burnt from one of those hot
Yeah, I saw
pots.
that.
Yeah, hot plates. So. yeah,
Well, a lot of it's
sad.
different, if you're from another country, a lot of them don't know how things work, dryers
Yeah,
and things like that, and so, but yeah, I think we're doing okay
Okay.
in that sense, and I think we haven't had the biggest impact on our public safety, but the health department has been very, working with the state well and accommodating and doing what is needed during that time period, but it looks like the state has looked at other locations that are more permanent and better suited, and they've moved a bunch of them out of different hotels that we've had here on the board.
any additional questions before we go into executive session? Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved,
We have to, it has to be, sorry,
the whole thing.
yeah, we have to
Yes,
say
indeed.
who's, we have to name who's gonna go into executive session, and that we're gonna be coming out back into open session,
In a roll call.
Make,
in a roll call vote.
okay, so I make a motion to go into executive session with Selectman Ciccolini, Selectman Cogliano, Selectman Sereno, Chairman Panetta, myself, and Town Manager Scott Crabtree, to come back into open session after executive session.
And that's second by
For the
the chair.
purpose of,
Oh, yeah, for the purpose of, just read that, there it is.
For the purpose of Town Manager Crabtree's non-union contract negotiation.
That's second by the chair, and have a roll call vote. Selectman Riley?
Yes.
Selectman Cogliano?
Yes.
Selectman Sereno?
Yes.
Selectman Vice Chair Ciccolini?
Yes.
Selectman Panetta? Yes. It's 5-0. With that said, if SCTV could just step out for the moment, and we'll call you back in when we come back into open session. Thank you very much. So we're back into open session again. We just got out of our executive session. There were 2 votes that were taken during executive session regarding the town manager's contract. So now we want to take those same votes in open session. So the first vote in our executive session came, the person who made the motion was Selectman Cogliano. Would you like to make that same motion in open session?
Sure. Make a motion to extend the town manager's contract till January 31st, 2030.
And that's seconded by the chair. And we had a roll call vote in executive session. I'd like to have a roll call vote as well in open session. Selectman Riley?
Yes.
Selectman Cogliano?
Yes.
Selectman Sereno?
Yes.
Selectman Vice Chair Ciccolini?
Yes.
And Selectman Panetta? Yes. The vote is unanimous. There was a second motion made, that was made in executive session by Selectman Vice Chair Ciccolini. Would you please make that motion in open session?
Yes, Madam Chair. The new duration of the contract resulted in adjustments being prorated for year 1, so effective based on his salary, as we discussed, be aligning with what we had from our previous negotiations. He would be entitled to an adjustment of 1.5% effective February 1st, 2025, and then 4% 2026, 27, 28, and 29. These would replace the existing adjustments that are listed. They're not added to. in his current contract. These would be a replacement. And then on top of that, we would still meet, we're gonna meet annually to discuss goals, objectives, and part of the evaluation would be to also consider additional salary adjustments based on performance.
Thank you, and that's February 1st of each one of those phone
Correct.
appointments.
Each one's February 1st.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to take another roll call vote. Selectman Riley?
Yes.
Selectman Quagliano?
Yes.
Selectman Sereno?
Yes.
Selectman Vice Chair Chicalini?
Yes.
And Selectman Panetta? Yes. It's a unanimous vote, 5-0. Congratulations to our
Congratulations.
town
Thank you.
manager.
Thank you very
And
much.
these were
Appreciate the
based
board.
on the accomplishments made by our town manager, working with
2028.
the town, working with the selectmen, finance committee, town meeting, and all the other departments and committees in town. And we appreciate the good work that you've done for our town. We appreciate our AA+ standings, all the wonderful things we're doing. We had a long discussion earlier about parks and playgrounds and the commitments that were made by our town manager. And next month, we're talking about having a big presentation to talk about another fire station. So-
Emergency.
Public safety,
Emergency
another public safety
response
building.
Yeah.
building. Thank you. Thank you for that. So thank you all for coming out and the good discussion that we had this morning. Would somebody please?
I just wanted to say, I thank you very much to the board. Obviously, it's a dream job to be able to help the town that I live in and grew up in. I appreciate thing, and I, just to add the increases that we talked about and agreed upon are based on other comps from other communities and
Absolutely.
similarly situated, and based on obviously the longevity.
And the public should know that right now, jobs are being advertised for more than you'll be making at the end of this contract.
Correct. That's correct.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there was a full analysis that was done with other surrounding cities and towns, and that was taken into consideration before any of these votes were made.
So thank you very much.
Is there anything that any of the board members would like to say before we adjourn?
All set, thank you.
Be careful out there.
Yeah,
Snow.
be careful out there. And go Eagles.
Yeah.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. That's seconded by the chair. All those in favor of Selectman Quagliano's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries
Have a good day,
5-0.
everyone.
Thank you, and thank you,
Hey,
SCTV.
you guys have the